Breaking news reaching us now from Ekiti says that the bail has been granted to human rights lawyer Dele Farotimi with a 30 million bond and 2 sureties. Now, the court says he should submit his international passport and also will refrain from granting any interviews whatsoever in relation to this case. Now, lead counsel for Farotimi is asking Afe Babalola's counsel to furnish them with all necessary documents in order to set a date for start of the trial proper. And trial is actually being set for February 13th, 2025. Troops of the multinational Joint Task Force operating under Sector 1 in Mora have successfully repelled a coordinated attack by Boko Haram ISWAP terrorists on the military base at Darak in Cameroon. Now, the operations led to the elimination of 10 terrorists in the early hours of 18 December 2024. The attack began at dawn with the terrorists launching assaults from multiple directions at the Darak military base. In a fierce gun battle, troops swiftly engaged the terrorists, eliminating 6 terrorists and forcing the others to flee with varying degrees of gunshot wounds. Unfortunately, 5 soldiers sustained injuries during the encounter and are currently responding to medical treatment. Still talking security, the Crime Experience and Perception Survey released by the National Bureau of Statistics earlier this week showed that more than 2.23 trillion naira was paid as ransom by victims of kidnapping incidents that occurred between May 2023 and April 2024. Now, this comes despite the substantial funding approved by the federal government for 7 security agencies tasked with ensuring the safety and protection of citizens' lives and property across the nation. According to the NBS report, an estimated 51.89 million crime incidents were experienced by households, with 51% of these incidents perpetrated in rural locations of the country. The crimes reported are theft of cars, burglary, theft of livestock, theft of crops, murder, motor vehicle theft, home robbery, and kidnapping. Well, many wonder where this actually leaves the conversation on kidnapping. Earlier, we're joined by Professor Chris Mustafa Nwaokobia, convener of the Country First movement, who pointed some gaps that must be bridged to turn the tide.
Has become a very lucrative business. I've told some of my friends who care to listen that it's an anathema to think of the fact that non-state actors can protect your facilities more than licensed and registered security establishments. And then it's also an anathema that the same armed forces that protected about the whole of West Africa, remember the days of ECOMOG, cannot deal with insurgency in the northeast and the northwest. And then one of the things my late father told me is that when we planted the evil being, we forgot that someday we'll all harvest rashes. That's what we have. The whole of the North Central that has the highest level of criminality has left fundamental issues of states in the hands of armageries, street urchins, and so they have grown bold and stronger. And rather than abide by the law, they have become the law unto themselves. And this failure of state, this failure of successive administration must be addressed now. If we don't address it, we will increasingly degenerate and deteriorate to a position where might is law, where wrong becomes.
Now we'll go back to the alleged defamation trial of Dele Farotimi in Ekiti State, where we have our correspondent Bettina Nweli standing by at the magistrate court. Bettina, thank you for joining us. Can you bring us up to speed with everything that has happened so far?
All right, Dashan, so far the court proceedings just ended with Dele Farotimi granted bail to the sum of a bond of 30 million naira with 2 sureties, which one has to have a house in Ado-Ekiti here, and he's also to submit his passport, international passport, to make sure that he doesn't leave the country. I have one person here who is going to speak to us on what happened inside court, and then we'll speak to the lead counsel of Dele Farotimi. Good afternoon, sir. Tell us your names, please.
Okay, my name is Comrade Agaido Kainde Steven. right activists.
All right, sir. Tell us, how did the proceedings go today, and was it in the favor of Mr. Dele Farotimi, would you say?
No, there's not anything like favor because it's a bailable offense. It's not a capital offense. So there's a constitutional right for this kind of alleged allegation against him. So there's not anything like favor right there. He's entitled to a bail. And as you can see today, there is a little shenanigans drama inside the court of law. And the lordship have to step aside to go and do what is best known to him. By the time he comes in, the counsel to Afe Babalola try to be petty. But at the end of the day, all tension was pressed down.
Thank you very much, sir. We have the lead counsel to Mr. Dele Farotimi here as well. We're just going to approach him and see if we can get anything from him regarding what happened this afternoon at the court regarding the case of Mr. Dele Farotimi. So I'm walking towards the lead counsel of Mr. Dele Farotimi, and it seems he's on another interview with another TV station. We'll speak to him shortly when he's finished. But we also have another representative of activists who came all the way from Abuja and came all the way from Lagos to see and to hear what happened in court today. Good afternoon, ma'am. Please, can you join us here? All right, you're looking into the camera. Please tell us your names.
Okay, my name is Bolu Onobolu, Dr. Onobolu. I'm the president and convener of Mothers United and Mobilized.
All right, ma'am, can you tell us about the proceedings regarding the case of Mr. Dele Farotimi this afternoon?
Well, we were here throughout. We've been here. I didn't know I could stand for 4 hours. We've been here. We're not lawyers. However, we know that he has been granted bail. But what we are surprised about is that there should be no trial in the first place. We're standing for due process. And the due process ended when he was taken from Lagos State. 2 states were crossed and brought to Ekiti State out of the 36 states in the Federation. Therefore, the transparency and the objectivity and the blindness of liberty or justice is questioned. And as Mothers United and Mobilized, we are women from all political parties, religious groups, but we are united in one cause.
Yes.
That our youth must be able to speak up.
They must have a voice.
And have a voice in the land of their birth. Yes. So Mr. Dele Farotimi, it's not just about him, it's about us. And that's why we traveled all the way from Abuja, and we have Mothers United and Mobilized behind us.
All right, thank you very much, ma'am. Dashan, you've heard it from the people. At least bail has been granted now, so we are optimistic about things that are yet to happen regarding this case. But I must also bring it to notice that on one of the buildings of this court here in Ekiti, it is written that it was donated by Mr. Afe Babalola. So people are asking, does this now, will you deem this as a fair trial if this is brought to his own base where he has clout and energy? But we have the lead counsel free now, so I will just approach him to take a few words from him regarding what happened during the course of the court proceedings. Good afternoon, sir.
Oh, okay.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
All right, please tell us your full names and your designation.
My name is Adejare Kembi. I'm a lawyer, of course, as you can see. For today, I am the lead counsel to Dele Farotimi. I have other lawyers in our team, some of whom are here with me.
All right, so tell us how the proceedings went and what exactly were the conditions for the bail that was given today.
Today is for ruling on 2 pending applications which were taken on the 10th of December 2024. The first one was whether a senior advocate of Nigeria has a right to represent Dele Farotimi. You will recall that our learned senior, Olumide Fushika SAN, was here personally on the 10th of December to lead this defense team, right? Along with other senior advocates who had also indicated intention in defending Dele Farotimi. But alas, the court said no, that since they have been elevated, they have elected to become senior advocates, then they don't have a right to appear in this court. And the court was saying that, look, if the Court of Appeal has taken a decision that he is bound by that decision, whether, quote, that decision is right or wrong. And we know that under the principle of precedence, judicial precedence, that is actually the law. And when we have any objection to the position of a superior court, the option we have is to appeal that position. So that was the very first ruling. Then the second ruling was on our application for bail. The court upheld that Dele Farutimi has a right to bail, and therefore the court granted him bail in the sum of 30 million naira bond to be provided by him, 2 sureties in like sum in the sum of 5 million naira each. And each one of the sureties is to have a landed property in Ekiti. Then the court proceeded further to say that Dele must deposit his international passport with the court, to which we pointed out to the court that this same order has been made by the Federal High Court. And if there is indeed judicial precedence, then having deposited it at the Federal High Court, there is nothing more to deposit here. So I think basically that those were the conditions as far as I can remember just now.
All right, sir.
Oh yeah, they also said that there was a gap placed on him. He must not grant any interview. He must not make any comment. He must not write anything that has to do with this case.
All right, sir. Before I let you go, can you tell us the tentative date for the next hearing?
It is not tentative. It is definite. February 13, 2025. That's the date of adjournment.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. So you have it, February 13, 2025 is the date for the trial that has been set regarding the case between Afe Babalola and Dele Farutimi. Live here from the city of Ekiti, Ado Ekiti, reporting for News Central TV.
All right, well, Bettina, just before we let you go, can you please go ahead and tell us if you have an idea, where Dele Farutimi is being held at the moment or where he is?
Well, we do know that he's been held here in Ekiti, but to pinpoint the particular location is something that I cannot give at this particular moment, but I will make findings and also report back during the course of the reportage.
All right, well, thank you so much, Bettina, for that update. Away from that, residents of Yobe State in Nigeria's northeast have expressed gratitude for improved security conditions across the state, attributing the peace to collaborative efforts between communities, the government and security agencies. Now, this is as the government has assured residents of continued safety and security with plans to further develop the region. News Central's Umari Kirawa completes the report.
This is Bayan Tasha in Nigeria's northeast state of Yobe. People go about their daily day-to-day activities after years of fear.
There's peace. There's nothing you can fear. We are doing business. The business is moving. Before, people are fearing. I've already said here, let's call it more than 30 years. There's nothing to fear about the Yobe State now as regard to security.
Alhamdulillah, mu dai muna yaba gwamnatin jihar Yobe a kokarin da ta yi akan gefen tsaro, kuma alhamdulillah mun samu tsaro da dan gwargwado har mutane yanzu suna iya fita ma su je su noma.
Yobe State government noted that the state's security situation had vastly improved over the past year, with insurgent activities significantly reduced.
Our administration continues to make every measure necessary to strengthen and improve the security of life and property of people across the state by supporting and partnering with the security agencies. I want to use this opportunity to commend the services of the Nigerian Army, police, civil defense, and all other security agencies and other all local vigilante groups for the work they do to keep us safe.
This shift in the security landscape is said to have allowed for a focus on reconstruction and development.
2024 saw the launching of the largest area empowerment support for farmers in the history of our state. Through our agricultural revitalization program, the sum of 15.3 billion naira was spent to provide farm implements and inputs to 5,340 farmers across the 178 wards of the state. Our efforts in the healthcare sector led Yobe State to win $500 in the primary healthcare leadership challenge for states in the northeast of region.
Yobe State, and indeed Nigeria as a whole, cannot thrive or make any meaningful progress without peace and security and the participation of all citizens means that requires that the mass media must always focus attention on what brings people together, not what sets them apart. The media must be a uniting factor in our state and in our country.
The Yobe state government promised that it will continue to prioritize security, ensuring a peaceful environment for the rebuilding process and business activities in the region. In Damaturu for News Central, Umori Kirawa.
We'll take a break now, and when we come back, we'll tell you that the AGF has declared suspension of Edo State Local Council Chairman illegal and unconstitutional. We have the details shortly. Join us again. Welcome back, and thank you for staying with us. Now, the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Lateef Fagbemi, SAN, has declared the suspension of chairman and vice chairman of the 18 local government areas in Edo State as illegal and unconstitutional. The AGF, who spoke to journalists in Abuja Thursday, stressed that removing from office or suspending any elected local government official in the country was the prerogative of councillors in the said local government area. The Justice Minister said his position was based on the July 11 judgment of the Supreme Court that granted autonomy to the 774 local government areas in the country. He said his initial reluctance to react to the development was because he wanted to know the basis upon which the local government area officials in Edo State were reportedly suspended. The Edo State House of Assembly suspended the chairman and vice chairman of the local government areas for 2 months over the alleged gross misconduct and insubordination. The Assembly directed the council leaders to hand over to the legislative leaders of their respective local governments. John Akerele, a public affairs commentator, joined us earlier on the news and gave us some perspective to the issue.
The legal advisors of Mr. Governor Monday Okpewolo are in the best position to advise him on the present day terms and conditions as regards local government autonomy. As you know, the Supreme Court earlier, later this year, gave a verdict that local government autonomy is a standing order. And so that gives that right for local government chairman that the only people that can impeach a local government chairman or take them out of office are the councillors that are elected through the local government autonomy structure. And so a governor cannot single-handedly take out a local government chairman. Why? Because the governor never, imposed the local government chairman on the people. Rather, the people voted for the local government chairman the same way Mr. Governor was voted for in the general election. And so they should understand separation of power. There is a state and there is also a local government. And so all of these things, everybody stand as an entity on their own. The state government stand as an entity on its own. The local government stand as an entity on its own. That's why I see that with this local government autonomy, they get their allocation directly from the federal government without interference of the state. And so at this point in time, it is just separation of power that have been in the constitution over the years, but have not been effective. But now, looking at the Supreme Court pronouncement, it is now a settled case that local government can stand on their own. And so what happened in Edo State, for me, I think it's too early for Mr. Monday Okpewolo to start on this kind of note.
Now, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has described the hack of the National Bureau of Statistics website as suspicious. In a statement released on Thursday, Abubakar noted the development adds up to what he called the bad tidings that have characterized the President Bola Tinubu's administration. On Wednesday, NBS announced that its website, www.nigeriastat.gov.ng, was hacked. Now, the agency asked members of the public to ignore any report published on the website until its recovery. On the evening of the same day, that's Wednesday, the landing page displayed the inscription, "Page hacked," on a white background. The hack of the website occurred 24 hours after the agency published its Crime Experience and Security Perception Survey report, in which it said Nigerians paid 2.23 trillion naira as ransom in 1 year between May 2023 and April 2024. The Oyo State Police Command has arrested the ex-queen of the Oni of Ife, Naomi Silekunola, and 7 others in connection with a deadly stampede at a fun fair in Ibadan on Wednesday. Now, the incident held at Islamic High School, Bashorun, claimed the lives of 35 children with 6 others critically injured. Police spokesperson Adewale Oshifeso confirmed the event, organized by Wings Foundation in collaboration with Agidigbo FM, exceeded its 5,000 capacity, drawing over 7,500 attendees. Now, the arrested individuals include the event's sponsor and the school's principal. Police have launched a homicide investigation, assuring residents of justice while increasing patrols to maintain security in the area. In the meantime, President Bola Tinubu has expressed deep sorrow over the tragic stampede at the Children's Fun Fair in Ibadan, the Oyo State capital, which claimed the lives of several children and left others injured. In a statement, the president extended heartfelt condolences to the Oyo State government and the grieving families, offering prayers for the souls of the departed. Now, President Tinubu has ordered a thorough investigation into the incident, emphasizing the need to determine if negligence or deliberate actions were involved. He urged the Oyo State government to review safety measures for public events, enforce regulations, and conduct regular venue audits to prevent future tragedies. The president stressed that the safety of children must remain a top priority at all public gatherings. Earlier, we were joined from Abuja by a lawyer, Justice Tochukwu, with Hope Behind Bars Africa, who gave us insights into the matter. Well, in the absence of that, resilience, courage, and hope have been identified as the major drive to achieving success in the midst of current economic downturn in Nigeria. This played out in Jos, the Plateau State capital, north-central Nigeria, where a group of traders returned to their burnt shops a few days after a fire incident razed down the building where they fend for their families. It was the spirit of hope and courage that informed this report by my colleague, Chizoba Anyongwe. Take a look.
Around this time last week, a number of traders with their families, friends, and loved ones in this mattress shopping complex at the popular Old Airport roundabout were in tears, brokenness, and hopelessness. Their shops and the goods therein were razed down by fire within a space of 2 hours, leaving them to count their losses, which amount is unquantifiable. The Yuletide has set in, and victims here have to battle with this sorry situation, while their counterparts are rather rounding up with plans for the joyous season. Up until now, a week after the inferno, nothing has been pointed as the cause of the incident, just as men of the fire service had said on that fateful day.
The fire, as of now, we cannot ascertain what actually happened to the investigation is carried out, because we have no possible cause.
With this situation here, noting the current economic hardship in the country, hopelessness is still written on the faces of these victims. However, the spirit of courage and resilience speak very loudly for them to be back in their business place a few days after the incident.
You must live and life must go on. If somebody did not die, then there is still much hope for you to live. We came out to tell the public that we still have our business in mind, and we want to just pick up from where we stopped, because we believe that God will still do another new thing in our lives. That is why all of us join as a family to come out to also just encourage ourselves. Truly, it's very painful. Millions have gone within a twinkle of an eye. Someone must have worked for it for years. Within an hour, everything vanished. It's not easy, but we have to give God the glory because we are still alive.
I decided to come out because I determined to overcome. Because staying at home cannot help me. I'd rather come outside and know whether God will bless us.
I can't just stay at home. The only thing I ought to do is that for me to come out and see whether if I can still retain my customers, because staying at home can't solve the problem.
Even in this situation of seeming hopelessness, these traders have said they remain resilient, they remain hopeful and courageous that things will get better in no long a time, even as they wait for people to come to their aid. In Jos for News Central, Chizoba Anyowi.
In a bid to put smiles on the faces of residents this Yuletide, Kogi State Governor Ahmed Usman Ododo has distributed bags of rice to residents to ease the rising cost of living during the festive season. Now, the State Commissioner for Information, Kingsley Fangwa, announced the initiative, emphasizing that governor's commitment to citizens' welfare. Now, Fangwa confirmed the rice has been dispatched to all 21 local government areas to ensure families enjoy Christmas and New Year celebrations. Fangwa also highlighted that salaries were paid on December 14, alongside provisions for non-salaried residents. The Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs is overseeing the equitable distribution, ensuring transparency and preventing political interference. Residents have praised Governor Ododo's compassionate leadership, describing him as inclusive and focused on alleviating economic hardship. Away from Nigeria, a KwaZulu-Natal man, Spusiso Lawrence, has sparked outrage on social media after killing his girlfriend and sharing the incident on social media. Now, the video, which has gone viral, has left many shocked and horrified. In the video, Lawrence justifies his actions, claiming he was driven by alleged ill treatment within their relationship. He later took his own life following the incident. Now, South Africa has high rates of gender-based violence, including femicide, and the issue is complex and multifaceted. Earlier on, we had Zama Shona, spokesperson of African Transformation Movement, who gave his insights into this matter.
It doesn't matter how many police you deploy, you can't deploy them in every battle. It does not matter how many life sentences and even consider a death penalty. The one who is a victim is already dead and they are not going to come back. Not until you raise a level of consciousness for each individual to police him or herself so as to shun away from doing wrong, you are not going to win this. We have laws in abundance. We are incarcerating, we are giving them life sentences, but the behavior is not actually, these sentences are not deterring people from actually doing this. So we need a new strategy, because paying for sins through retribution and deterrence in terms of harsher sentences alone seem to be not working.
Authorities in Mozambique say the death toll from Cyclone Chido in that country has jumped to 73 from 45 reported earlier. Now, the winds from Storm Chido were so strong that it ripped the sheets of corrugated iron right off the frames of homes. Mozambicans have started to pick up the pieces from Cyclone Chido caused devastation, leaving thousands of homes destroyed and dozens dead when it made a landfall in the country's Cabo Delgado province on Sunday. In Malawi, the toll rose to 13 from 7 after the storm hit continental Africa after passing through the French territory on the island of Mayotte. Now, in other news from around the world, the U.S. House of Representatives has rejected a Republican-led funding bill aimed at preventing a government shutdown. Now, the bill would have suspended the country's borrowing limit for President-elect Donald Trump's first 2 years in office. However, dozens of Republican lawmakers rebelled against their own leadership, sinking the package. With federal agencies set to run out of cash on Friday night, the government shutdown is looming. The contentious bill's defeat has raised concerns about the country's ability to meet its financial obligations.
174, the nays are 235, one voting present, two-thirds not being in the affirmative. The rules are not suspended and the bill is not passed.
A Russian missile strike hit Ukraine's capital Kyiv on Friday, killing one person and injuring several others. Now, the attack occurred around 7 a.m. with Russian forces using Kinzhal and Iskander missiles. Kyiv Mayor Vitaly Klitschko reported that 2 people were hospitalized and debris fell in 4 areas, setting cars and buildings ablaze. The Ukrainian Air Force had warned of an impending ballistic missile attack. Russian President Vladimir Putin had suggested a high-tech duel over Kyiv to test Russia's new hypersonic ballistic missile. Now, Ukrainian authorities also reported missile attacks in the southern port city of Kherson, where 1 person was killed and 6 injured. And up next is business news.
Government via the Nigeria Customs Service has disclosed that importing liquefied natural gas or cooking gas are now exempt from import duty and value-added tax. The development comes as the Customs Service said that all debit notes given to petroleum marketers who imported cooking gas from August 26, 2019 will be withdrawn in line with previous approvals. The Customs disclosed this in a statement signed by its National Public Relations Officer, Abdullahi Mewada. Mewada noted that in line with President Bola Tinubu's promise to boost Nigeria's investment in clean energy and increase domestic gas use, the Customs will implement fiscal incentives under the Presidential Gas for Growth initiative. Interventionist payment in the power sector by the federal government was inadequate as electricity subsidies increased to 199.64 billion naira in December 2024, according to data sourced from the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission. These payments were made amid worries over incidences of recurrent grid collapse and epileptic power supply across the country by most electricity consumers. According to the newly released report by the regulator, December 2024 multi-year tariff order, electricity subsidies rose by 2.76% to 199.64 billion naira this month from 194.26 billion naira in November. NERC explained that the rise in the exchange rate, which it pegged at 1,687 naira 45 kobo to a dollar, the increase in inflation to 33.9%, and changes in available generation capacity necessitated the minor review. The African Development Bank says African countries, including Nigeria, have collaborated to establish a continental credit rating agency to counterbalance Western credit rating agencies' bias against Africa. Kevin Rama, Vice President and Chief Economist, Economic Governance and Knowledge Management at AFDB Group, made this known at the launch of the Debt Management Forum for Africa, organized by the bank in Abuja. S&P Global Ratings, Fitch Ratings, and Moody's are top 3 global credit rating agencies. Speaking at the event, Rama said the proposed African credit rating agency would address the prejudice against the continent. Finally, ESCOM has posted a major pre-tax loss for the 2023-2024 financial year of more than 25 billion rand. It shared its financial results at its Megawatt Park headquarters on Thursday, more than 3 months late. In part, it is blaming ongoing corruption within the organization for the delay, in particular suspected collusion involving staff in its prepaid vending system. The steep loss was also anticipated after the utility implemented record power outages caused by failures at poorly maintained generating facilities. However, ESCOM executives have been quick to look at the future, saying it expects to finally make an after-tax profit of 10 billion rand at the end of the current financial year in March 2025. Many thanks for watching Business News. I am Lekon Onobanjo.
And with that, we'll take a quick break and we'll be back shortly. Stay with us. Welcome back. Now, the Constitutional Court in South Africa has handed down an interim order temporarily amending the Copyright Act to allow blind and visually impaired people to convert literary works without the authorization of the owner of the work. Now, Blind SA, represented by Section 27, launched an urgent application in the Constitutional Court after President Cyril Ramaphosa failed to sign the Copyright Amendment Bill by 21st September. This marks the expiry of a court-ordered deadline imposed on the president 2 years ago by the same court. Blind SA President Christo de Klerk says they're waiting for President Cyril Ramaphosa to sign the bill into law. Now, the court's interim order gives them legal protection to convert copyright-protected works in accessible formats without having to obtain permission. Now, let's now join Christo de Klerk, President of Blind SA, who is currently in Gauteng. Thank you so much for joining us on the news, Christo.
Good afternoon to you and to your viewers, and thank you for the opportunity.
It's a pleasure to have you. Now, as someone who is visually impaired, how do you personally feel about, the Constitutional Court's interim order allowing the conversion of literary works without the need for authorization?
Well, we feel vindicated. This has been a struggle for so many years, and then 2 years ago we got the order which respected our rights and allowed us access without having to grovel before publishers for permission to make books readable for blind persons. And then came 21 September this year, and then our rights expired again because the president hadn't signed the bill into law. So now that we got this order on Friday the 13th, we are elated. We feel vindicated, as I say, because we have now got our rights back again.
All right, now, in your opinion, how will this ruling improve access to literature and, educational materials for blind and visually impaired individuals?
As I mentioned before, beforehand, we needed to have the right to do this or the permission from copyright holders, which in 90% of cases we did not get. So 90% of books that we want to make readable for blind person, we were not allowed to do. Now we can do it. A sighted person can go to a bookshop or a library, get a book and read it. We first need to make it accessible, and we were denied that right. Now, this is especially important in educational circumstances because often you get material and you haven't got much time to study them. And if you cannot get permission to make the book readable, what do you do? In my own case, when I was studying many years ago, I studied law and the old law applied. So I first had to become a criminal in order to become a lawyer. I had to break the law and make books accessible when I could not obtain the rights from copyright holders. Now that has been decriminalized, and we can make those books accessible to blind and print disabled students, learners and individuals, and whoever needs them.
All right, now, Christo, what further changes would you like to see in the Copyright Act?
The copyright bill, the president did not sign the bill into law, and then Blind SA brought its action. At that point, the president referred the bill to the Constitutional Court, and that hearing will happen on 19th and 20th of February. Because the Copyright Amendment Bill is very, very heavily disputed, but nobody is disputing Section 19D, which is in the bill, which provides us with the rights we need. Now, we have the temporary order now, but we would really prefer the provisions in Section 19D of the disputed bill, because they go wider than what we now have. They will actually provide the legal framework for government to enable them to ratify the Marrakesh Treaty, which came into existence in 2013 already. That's 11 years ago. 128 countries have already ratified it, 30 of them in Africa. I believe you have. We have not 11 years later. Now, we need that treaty because it provides for international exchange of accessible books to print-disabled persons in countries which have ratified the Marrakesh Treaty. So we really would like that.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Crystal, for your time and for speaking to us on the Copyright Act.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
And that's all at this hour. But before we go, here's another look at some of our top stories. We told you that human rights lawyer Dele Farotimi granted bail at resumed sitting at Ekiti Magistrate Court. We also told you that 10 killed as troops repel major terror attack on military base. Finally, you heard that death toll from Cyclone Chido in Mozambique rises to 73. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I'm Darshan Usman.